Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Monday.
I've got some good news to help get you started for the day, the week, the month, the year. And I'm singing the theme song to Friends now. But bald eagles are becoming more common throughout Alberta, especially in the Calgary area. Conservation efforts to thank for that. This is a species that was in decline when I was but a lad. A very beautiful, iconic, of course, creature, unless you look at them head on. I mean, there's a reason why you always see them depicted in profile, head to the side, very staunch and majestic, and then they look head on at you. You go, oh, you're a little derpy. Kind of like, you're a bird. You're a bird, too. I love it. But they... of course, are not out of the woods, so to speak. There's a lot of threats that are still happening when it comes to not just bald eagle, but so many populations, so many species. But it's just a little piece of good news. They're no longer on the endangered species list in North America, and we're seeing more and more of them in Alberta, which is great news. Conservation efforts working. Though I do have a suspicion that some of those birds in Alberta are just coming north from America and just being like, you know what? Peace. We're going to give a new thing a shot. Are you safe from the exploding trees? Did you survive the danger? Did you come short of getting sapped? Yeah, probably. Headlines warning northern populations of the fearful exploding trees caught a lot of attention just before the weekend. You know, while a huge chunk of North America, North America specifically, we're facing an Arctic plunge in temperatures. Thankfully, we've warmed back up quite a bit. We're still continuing through this week, but it already feels much more comfortable. And no, we didn't have to deal with any exploding trees or anything like that. It's a very rare event. It requires not just cold temperatures, but a big swing from warm into cold temps. If it's gradual, it's far less likely. And also, I mean, exploding is a bit of a misdirect. We're not talking like rocket launcher. We're talking firecracker. You know, you probably don't want to have your hand on it when it pops, but you're probably okay walking by.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
It's time for Cruz Music News with Steve Reeve.
Got a few stories to start the week with. Is it a genuine stance or an attempt at relevancy once again? Paul Brandt, Albertan country singer, has signaled his support of the Alberta separatist movement in a subtle way, but an obvious way, even featuring lyrics to his Alberta-bound song from 2004 and highlighted lyrics within it. Yeah, I've got independence in my veins. Ironic, considering he's a Canadian country music Hall of Famer. But I'm sure there'll be more of this to come. And Dave Grohl announcing that, well, there's no concrete plans in place. They are in earnest working on new music, and they just finished their new album the other day. He was at a show in Tasmania over the weekend where he let everybody in the audience know, and of course then, by extension, everybody on the internet, as well as something mysterious coming from My Chemical Romance. They've been posting some cryptic things on social media and not adding any more context for people. They have the words, "A game you will play," as a teaser for what is going to be something called Phantom. Whatever that is. Neon green letters, no music, no sounds, just the word Phantom, kind of representing an old school oscilloscope that kind of looks vintage, but we don't know what it actually means yet. I guess that's the case for all three of the stories this morning. That's it for your music news. I'm Steve Reeve. It's good to notice your own first world problems moments. I encourage everybody to keep an eye out for them in themselves. You know, and I had one over the weekend. I had to go, hold on. It's not actually a problem. I am heading out on a vacation in less than a month as just a prelude. Already don't feel sorry for me, right? But I saw that there's an act that I would love to see live, promoting tour dates, lights, and that's the act. Not just talking about what's going to be during the show. They'll be in town. Where we'll be in town. The problem is just not the when we'll be there. That is the mismatch. Date show is about a week before we'd actually be able to catch it. No chance to adjust the plans. It's just not going to work out, and you just have to accept it. Sucks. But also, it's not really a problem, you know?
Tuesday.
Crazy snow absolutely burying cars in the Toronto area the last few days, seeing some of the footage. Not envying. Of course, yeah, we do deal with our own snow, and we have earlier in the month for sure. Haven't gotten a lot lately, and I'm very happy about that. They certainly have. And they're still dealing with all the clearing that needs doing. Now I'm hearing about Eastern Canada getting a slow-moving nor'easter, which is both a snowy storm to watch out for, and also a not very nice way to talk about your uncle who comes to visit every once a few years. You know, he's had it rough, okay? He's had it rough. You leave him alone. Fort McMurray filmmaker put out a movie called Back Home Again back in 2021. Now, this was the post-wildfire animated short that featured, sort of a reimagining of what it was like for people escaping and then afterwards coming back to the region. Very, very impactful. And I've heard from parents that kids who've watched it and who went through the situation in 2016, it was an eye-opener and a game changer and something that really, really helped them. So also a ton of huge names on the cast, like some Canadian royalty in there, including from our region, Tantu Cardinal, as well, Lorne Cardinal, and Michael J. Fox, Tom Green, Eugene Levy, Norm Macdonald. It's actually his last credited role. Catherine O'Hara, Jeremy Renner was a big role in that one, not only providing a voice, but he sang an original song for that movie. I'm just saying. Kind of a big deal, and now they're working on an R-rated animated feature that's going to be a stoner comedy. You've got big names like Russell Peters, Kim Basinger, who also helped out with Back Home Again, and then you've got Dan Aykroyd and Kevin Smith attached to do some voices. And apparently in the studio, the voice recording studios, when Kevin Smith got to meet Dan Aykroyd for the first time working on this thing. It's going to be a while before it comes out. This new movie called Getting Lost. Now, it's up for sale at the European film market coming up. What does that mean? It just means that they're producing it. It is coming out. They've got to wrap up production by the fall of this year, but they're going to try and sell it for distribution. So they get a company to put it out so that we can actually see it. More news to come on this, but I think that's awesome. Huge congrats going out to Michael Mankowski and everyone else that's working on this project.
Hey, Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
We've got a few stories, including Bad Bunny and the NFL causing more controversy with the Super Bowl. I don't know why, but there's now merchandise, of course. We're getting closer and closer to that big game taking place, and they've unveiled a little bit of a collection, and actually technically a historical one, because it's the first time there has been NFL Super Bowl merch that has featured any Spanish language on it. The superstar himself is the absolute one of the hugest acts that they have booked for it, actually. Puerto Rican, 60th Super Bowl. He's just had huge numbers on his tour just recently. It's just that not everybody is super familiar with him, and I'm sure everybody will be super normal about this development as well. Dave Mustaine has said that there are insane things coming with this farewell album that Megadeth is working on. Says it will cause a renaissance. In his own words, it's going to smack people upside of their ear holes. I don't know. It sounds like a great way to promote the album. We'll have to actually see what the impact is once it arrives. But he says that it's time for things to happen when it comes to moving on from Megadeth and from making music. He says he's been on the defense his entire career, and he does have high hopes for the future of metal, and maybe, just maybe, seeing a posthumous sort of release for Megadeth in the future. It's just that it's nothing that is in the cards right now. One thing at a time, and the farewell album is what is on the block. Sad news to end off on today. We've lost an absolute icon in the reggae space, Sly Dunbar. Defining drummer in the era of reggae music. He's worked with huge names like Grace Jones, Bob Dylan, the Rolling Stones, and more. He has now died at the age of 73, as confirmed by his wife, and no cause of death provided, but he was at home and had been dealing with illness recently. That's it for your music news this morning. Oh, they've got some powerful NHL pedigree going into the Olympics as one of the most recognized players in the entire league, and someone who just managed to get 1,000 career points. Leon Draisaitl with the Edmonton Oilers is headed to Milan 2026 to take part in the Olympics over there in Italy. The Winter Games are going to be kicking off very, very soon. But he's not going to be playing for Team Canada. It's something that you got to know about. People are going to be, of course, cheering on our team, but also keeping eyes on Draisaitl as he plays for Team Germany. He's actually fulfilling a lifelong dream of doing this. He gets to play with some very, very interesting people that he's wanted to play with on the ice. And Germany's a team to watch out for. I mean, they actually took silver at the previous game, or one of the previous games, the 2018 Winter Games, without any NHL players on the team that year. And they actually, a couple years ago, got silver at the IIHF World Championships in 2023. In his own words, Draisaitl says, an interesting group of guys who can really cause a sensation. I bet we're about to see some of that going down in real time before too long. Just with a really interesting schedule for watching the games. Yeah, your sleep schedule is going to be all over the place.
Wednesday.
I'm wondering about Canadian moments in history, and not even all that far back in history. The big question this morning is, what moment from the last decade should be made into a new Canadian Heritage Minute? I mean, growing up, there were the old Canada vignettes that were, still rumbling around on CBC from way before I was born. And then there was the Hinterland Who's Who shorts of old as well that we grew up with. I loved those growing up. Depicting quintessential Canadian moments in history were the Canadian Heritage Minutes that started in 1991, kind of following in the footsteps of what came before. They became a part of our history to the point of, being targeted for parody. I loved when Comedy Network used to do their spoofs. I know that, I was going to say Royal Canadian Air Force. Been a minute. This hour is 22 minutes. They've done theirs, their fair share of them. It seems like something old-timey at this point, but they have not stopped making the Heritage Minutes. They actually put out like 2 a year on average. Now, there are rumblings that a whole new crop of Heritage Minutes are going to be put into production very soon, and then, of course, shared with the country thanks to Historica Canada. So what should make the cut? And I do have an answer for you. I'm tempted to say, but also really don't want to color the information and have people just say, yeah, that's the one I mean too. I'll share mine when you share yours. How about that? Jump online. Go on to Face Business, Cruz Radio Fort Mac. Over there is how you find us. You can have your answer put in there, or, of course, just text it direct to the text line, 780-715-2789. What moment from the last decade should be a Heritage Minute? Doozy of a story to start things off. Spotify, as well as the big major record labels, the big three, Universal, Warner, and Sony, they're coming together with a lawsuit, a sort of class action lawsuit of their own, against a pirating site, Anna's Archive. If you've never heard of that site, you probably pay for all of your music. But this is the big thing about it. 2 big numbers, actually. The number they're suing Anna's Archive for is $13 trillion in alleged lost funds. And they also say that the platform has scraped 86 million music files, making them available. Preservation archive for music was the original intent, but it's not really being defined that much. They seek about $151,000 per file. Wonder if any of that money, if they recoup it, is going to be going to the artists that help them with the business that they run. I kind of have doubts, though. One night only for the Paul McCartney Wings documentary. It's called Man on the Run. Tickets go on sale pretty soon for it, but it's only going to be in cinemas for exactly one night in February on the 27th. Then it arrives on Prime Video. Basically, it's an Amazon MGM Studios production, so you're not going to have to wait too long, but probably putting it in theaters to fulfill some sort of awards mandates. They want it to be eligible for something. But life post-Beatles is what we're going to explore when that one does arrive in about a month's time. And a strange piece of news, Jeff Buckley has got a top 100 U.S. hit for the first time in 32 years. The late star is going to be part of this documentary, It's Never Over. Jeff Buckley, he's going to be the subject, that is. And a song has, thanks to TikTok, been boosted up. Lover, You Should Have Come Over, off of the album Grace, getting its accolades way too late. That's it for your music news this morning. I'm Steve Reeve. Got a vacation coming up, and it's, I'm going to be gone for a little while, so I got to give huge thanks to Jordan, who's going to be filling in for me once that starts mid-February. But because it's so long, we do have a cat sitter. Somebody's going to be coming to the house regularly. We just thought, just in case, what can we do? What can we have in place as like sort of a fail-safe? We only have one cat. we figured maybe an auto feeder would be the thing to do. You know, something that you can use an app to dispense food on. You can even set up schedules, all that stuff. We thought maybe this is the way to go. And I was really on the fence. I really didn't want to dive into it and thinking, oh, this just feels like too much of a luxury, like a bougie thing. Feels a little ridiculous, you know, I don't know. Hemming and hawing until I read this review, and I will read it verbatim. I have several varieties of automatic pet feeders in use for a large colony of feral cats. This one is my favorite so far, as it holds a large amount, is easy to fill, and so far has survived several attacks by a pair of large raccoons that have knocked it over, batting it around, but were never able to get it open. How do you have a better review for anything than that?
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruz FM.